Thank you. And kia ora koutou katoa. Welcome to this Operations Monitoring Committee meeting being held on the 5th of April. A warm welcome to our Mayor, councillors, board members and staff who are here to inform and support us. Of course, a warm welcome to the public who are in attendance and also those who may be live streaming in today. First item on our agenda are apologies. We do have apologies from Councillor Sturt. Are there any others? Yes, Councillor Maxwell.
My brother's boy and nephew passed away yesterday, and they're doing the autopsy at Rotorua Hospital, and they'll phone me, and then I'll head off and head out to Oahu for the day.
Yes, that's fine. We're very sorry to hear about your loss.
My brother Parker, Christian, epilepsy, severe one. So that's the reason I've got that there.
Yeah, that's fine. And our thoughts are with you and your whānau at this time.
Kia ora.
Thank you, Councillor Maxwell. Can I have a mover and seconder for the apologies? Councillor Donaldson, seconded Councillor Gould. Put that motion to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Are there any declarations of interest this morning? Appear to be none. Any urgent items not on the agenda? Yes, Mayor Chadwick.
Madam Chair, welcome to the Chair. Nice to see you in there. Just appears to be some confusion, and I'd seek some clarification about a public meeting tonight on special housing areas, and I'd like this feedback in public, because I see that there's a public meeting to be held at Ngongataha next week, a council-led public meeting. Could we have some clarification on the status of the meeting tonight, just so that we councillors are aware? And I think the other aspect that is good for people to know at this stage is if councillors attend, what's their position on a quasi-judicial process?
Yeah.
Yes. So we're just all very clear on that?
Yes, absolutely. Would you like to? Sorry, no, before I go to the staff, I'll just get Mr.
We've been invited to the same hui, and I'd like some clarification as well.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
So through the chair, so we were approached, and when I say we, it was council was approached for whether we would attend a meeting tonight. It's a meeting that has been organised by one of the residents in Ngongataha. And I understand invitations have been circulated in the local community. So that is not a council public meeting. It is a meeting organised by residents. The meeting that has been organised for next week, and there is a flyer that has been circulated to the community this afternoon, is in response to a number of requests that have come to council as to providing an information session. Now, it is not a session for feedback to be received by council. It is a session within which residents can receive information about the process, the consultation approach being used and so on, and we can clarify some of what I believe are some of the areas of misconception that exist with regard to the SCHA process. So that's a meeting for next week, and will be chaired by an independent, and will actually be, as I say, an information focused session. So back to the meeting tonight. The issue that we have got, and it's both councillors in particular, but also to a degree staff, is that we have got an obligation through the RMA process to operate a very clear process, a totally transparent one. The process is by nature semi-judicial in nature, and so it is imperative that all of those involved in the decision making are very clear as to maintaining neutrality in any type of position. Any signal of partiality will actually potentially cause a challenge to to the process ultimately made in council. Now, so how could you signal that? Well, one way would be to, for example, be seen to be attending or supporting meetings which were set up explicitly to object to the SHA process. But that is all you actually do, and the proposers of the proposals for the SHA look at this and say, so council is attending and supporting and listening to the opposite side, but no due consideration has been given to our voice. We haven't had the same opportunity. Now that's why this has actually been heard in the RMA Policy Committee, that the Policy Committee actually is the right vehicle for feedback to be provided to. That's what it was set up for, and that's what the members of the Policy Committee actually are ensuring is actually occurring. And I'd ask the Chair to speak to this as well, but their key guideline is one of impartiality and fairness. That is actually the requirement in the middle of this, that all parties are able to have a voice, and that there is a formal consultative mechanism in place where those who are in favour or those who are against are able to equally put their cases forward and be heard. When you start working outside of the established consultative process, if you're a member of the group who's ultimately making the decision, you always run the risk that a party looks at your action and says, this is quite clear that this is actually supporting one view, or these actions are supporting only one view or one voice, and therefore I am concluding that the council is not impartial, that they are very partial, and therefore I'm going to challenge the decision they make through a judicial process. So that's effectively how I think the sort of decisions around attending meetings or not need to go. Now, the involvement of council staff in these meetings is equally fraught in some ways. The public meeting tonight, the invitation on it was to actually receive information, but also to provide feedback on what people felt about the SHA proposals. Clearly, the purpose anyone going to the meeting, therefore, is going with an expressed view that they're there to be able to provide feedback, and they will have the opportunity to do so. Now, the question is, who are they going to be providing feedback to? Now, quite clearly, the meeting tonight does not have any status with regard to the formal process. Staff cannot be seen to be receiving feedback or acting on feedback. That needs to happen through the formal process. So the only time that staff can be involved is to actually provide information to the public, not to receive information from the public. And so that's the only way that we can be involved, which is why we've set the following week's meeting up, which is an opportunity for people to hear about the process, to hear about the consultative mechanisms involved, and to actually be informed as to if they have got concerns or if they have got issues that they wish to raise, what is the proper way of doing that? Now, unfortunately, the meeting tonight we have got no control on. It's not our meeting, and anyone, of course, is free to meet together to discuss issues. The only question, of course, comes is that when this becomes a matter of an RMA process, we have obligations and you have obligations that limit our involvement so that we keep all parties effectively on the same platform, that everyone is treated fairly, transparently, and there could be no accusations that councillors are acting one way or other and demonstrating bias. But I'd ask perhaps the RMA subcommittee chair might like to comment on this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for that opportunity. I think it's clear that this is new legislation and it's a new issue for the community. And we have, as a committee, Councillor Kent and I and Ms Mohi, have the Act to guide us, and we have a policy that our council work towards together to guide our decision making. We must remain within that framework. That's the role of our committee. But what's equally important, it is simply a recommendation from our committee that comes up to council. And this is where it's starting to get a little bit sticky. Because if councillors and you and board members choose to go to those public meetings and are perceived to have a bias one way or the other, it could put into question the decision-making process. Now, I'm sure we're not the only council around the country facing these sorts of issues. And the government has set this up for specific reasons in order to alleviate the housing issues that are faced nationwide. We have one in our own environment. We are treading as a policy committee as carefully as we can through this. But it's going to be harder for elected members to, in all honesty, come to the table with no preconceived ideas if they attend or are seen to support or engage with the process outside of the council environment. So I would really like to ask you to stay within the council environment in order for us to hear your comments when the time comes to discuss any recommendation that may come from this committee, regardless of whether it's this one on the table or any in the future. I expect there will be others coming through in the future. And again, the same rigour must be applied. And all of us have to do that. So we as a committee are doing our darndest to make sure that when we behave within the policy guidelines and can make our decisions based on the information in front of us for what we believe are the right reasons, whatever they may be. So that's probably all I'll say on that. But we do look for your support in order for that final decision at council level, and it will become very hard if the numbers drop. So thank you.
If I can just finish with a couple of pieces of information for you which may be helpful. So firstly, with regards to SHA1, that was obviously the area surrounding SHA1 was actually part of the consultation undertaken for the spatial plan. And that was a matter that the subcommittee obviously looked at in their considerations. The SHA process is not that once council makes a decision and then the minister considers it and also makes a decision, it doesn't mean that it automatically goes to the build phase. What has to happen is still all of the normal resource consenting requirements still exist. So that means that the developer will actually be needing to actually develop up an RMA proposal for consent, and that will entail all of the matters for consideration ranging from any required earthworks, the stream, the impact on infrastructure, roading and so on. So all of that is part of the RMA process and is still yet to be undertaken. There is also a requirement to actually have a level of consultation for affected parties, for even with SHA1. So it is highly likely that, as I understand it, that those parties, and particularly immediate neighbours who are clearly affected parties, will have the opportunity to comment on the consent that is actually will be proposed. So that's around SHA1. For SHA2, what I understand the direction is that the decision that you made was in fact around the need for public consultation. And that is actually what the proposal will also undertake. So there is consultation coming within the formal framework for those who are affected by SHA1 and also those who generally live in the community of Ngātaha for SHA2. So the importance here is that there are proposals, there are mechanisms for consultation in place that will actually occur. What we're doing for the public meeting next week is to make sure that people understand what that process is and how they can be involved and what mechanisms exist for them to actually have a say on these two proposals. And I think that's possible.
Individual councillors who then leaves the room to take a call. But I just raise the of us have seen that two of our councillors are cited as being committee members running that. So I'm not sure that even they realise the implications of that, because at the moment.
We're trying to ensure, and the be able to actually make your deliberations around the table. The actions that councillors undertake are obviously scrutinised by
talk down to. I've been on this council now, this is my third term.
Madam Chair, just to assist you, I think we're all trying to learn about quite meetings are just public meetings for any of us to attend, but this is we're now in a very different. I think that's what I'm seeking clarification from the CEO on, just so we're all very aware of the process that we're in. It's not a talking down. This is quite a different process.
With respect, Madam Chair, I think you are making it a different process.
Appreciate your concerns as well, and I'm sure that there are others of it are quite serious, which is why I have allowed important that we do Bird to talk to us about the work while we'll have questions after.
I went from that to that.